The constant pursuit of wisdom is the less traveled road, but the most rewarding one. In our lives, some things are like seeds. We plant them in silence, away from curious eyes, so they can grow and flourish without interference. This is where the wisdom of the Stoics comes in. They teach us to guard, to cultivate within ourselves, without the hurry to show it to the world. The Stoics, great thinkers in history, knew that not everything should be shared. They valued their secrets, their achievements, and their lessons because they understood that by revealing too much of the true essence of things, it might be lost to them. Every joy and sadness, every lesson and challenge, they are pieces of the story we compose. And if we share everything without thinking, perhaps we stop living deeply. Because, just like a flower doesn't grow if it's constantly touched, our growth also needs privacy, a space of our own, where we look at our mistakes and victories and decide how we want to move forward in the best way. So, when we don't share something, it's not to hide, but to protect. True growth comes from the balance between what we show and what we keep just for ourselves. In a world that loves to display everything, it can sometimes be challenging to recognize and appreciate what's behind our accomplishments. In this video, we will discuss 11 subjects that we recommend you keep to yourself. All of them are important, so stay tuned until the end of the video to find out why. One, don't talk about your achievements. Imagine diving into the dark and deep waters of your own soul. For the Stoics, the pursuit of wisdom and virtue resembled this profound journey. They believed that true fulfillment wasn't in displaying external triumphs, but in introspection and continuous evolution. Every challenge, every struggle was fought not in public arenas, but in the silent landscapes of the spirit. By discussing their victories, they offered us a deep reflection. Ego and vanity, when nurtured, can become barriers that stand between us and true virtue. Their obsession with external recognition, they said, ties us to chains of pride, trapping us in the empty pursuit of fleeting applause, and that is a path filled with disappointment. However, here's a precious teaching from the Stoics. True achievement isn't the one stopped to be admired, but the one that silently transforms the community, nurturing noble values like justice, compassion, and wisdom. Wealth, for these ancient sages, wasn't accumulated in vaults, but in the depths of a balanced and serene soul. Instead of celebrating triumphs or withering in defeat, they embraced a quiet acceptance of all the whims of life. They invited us to recognize that the dance of existence is orchestrated by melodies often beyond our control. In this remarkable silence, we find a deliberate choice, a commitment to genuine greatness. They believed that true majesty lay in living with integrity, dedicating oneself to the collective. They left us with the legacy that humility, sincerity, and the ceaseless pursuit of wisdom were the true pillars of a life worth living. 2. Don't talk about challenges not overcome. In the Stoic path to wisdom and virtue, every step was filled with meaning. The deviations and stumbling blocks weren't mere obstacles. They carved the soul, shaped character, and taught about the true nature of grandeur. It wasn't the visible triumph that counted, but the internal battles, often invisible, that determined a person's inner strength. But if these struggles held so much value, why did the Stoics advise not to speak about challenges not overcome? The answer lies in their astute perception of human nature. They believed that ego and pride could cloud our vision, making us blind to true virtue. The relentless pursuit of external recognition and praise could indeed be a veil that hides our true potential. The Stoics didn't value achievements that could be easily displayed as trophies. They sought true glory in acts that elevated humanity, acts rooted in values like justice, generosity, and wisdom. Real wealth for them wasn't in the shine of gold, but in the radiance of morally upright character and a tranquil soul. The philosophy of loving fate was fundamental to this understanding. The Stoics didn't despair in the face of adversity. Instead, they balanced the taste of victory and defeat with equanimity, aware that the tapestry of life is woven with threads of circumstances often beyond our control. 3. Don't talk about your good deeds. Imagine a candle that silently lights up a dark room. Its light is gentle, unobtrusive, but it warms and illuminates everything around it. Kindness, for the Stoics, was much like this flame. They believed that true generosity didn't need to be proclaimed in public squares or shouted from the mountaintops. It should, in its essence, be a genuine and subtle gesture, done out of the simple desire to do good without expecting praise in return. Why might this perspective seem strange in today's self-promotion culture? For a profound reason, as the Stoics recognize the danger of turning kindness into a spectacle. After all, if we brag about every altruistic act, we might inadvertently seek the fleeting warmth of applause. Keeping our good deeds in the cloak of anonymity provides us with a sacred moment of reflection and pause, a moment of intimate connection with ourselves, where we can question whether our actions were genuine or motivated by other interests. This secret self-analysis becomes a catalyst for personal improvement. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lay the belief that true kindness doesn't seek the spotlight. It manifests in acts of compassion, quiet and authentic. This timeless wisdom envelops us with its essence and reminds us of a fundamental truth. Often, the greatest act of kindness is the one offered without expecting anything in return. 4. Don't talk about your resentment. Have you ever felt trapped in a web of emotions where each thread is a bitter memory, a grudge that refuses to fade? The timeless wisdom of Stoicism invites us to reflect deeply on the invisible weight of resentment. To these ancient philosophers, harboring resentment was like an anchor that prevented the spirit from sailing freely through the seas of life. But what if we could choose a less trodden path, where forgiveness and understanding were our faithful companions? Behind this historical perspective, we find an unwavering focus on virtue and self-control. Ask yourself, have you ever carried a burden on your back for a long time? Have you felt the weariness, exhaustion, and resentment? This burden is an invisible chain that binds us, limiting our freedom and inner peace. It's fascinating to realize that often resentment springs from misunderstanding and can imprison us in a cycle of bitterness. The Stoics encouraged us to seek the origins of others' actions, to understand before we judge. Forgiveness, then, is not just an altruistic gesture, but an act of profound wisdom that unravels the mysteries of the human soul and frees us from the chains of negativity, because anger and resentment are silent poisons. Flames that, when fed, consume our tranquility and well-being. On the other hand, by choosing the path of forgiveness and understanding, we find an oasis of serenity and peace. Thus, guided by Stoic wisdom, we are reminded of a universal truth. Forgiveness is the key to our own freedom. It is a beacon that guides us through emotional storms and offers us refuge in the harbor of serenity. By embracing this lesson, we discover that, at times, the greatest strength lies in letting go, in freeing ourselves from the chains of the past and sailing toward a horizon of understanding and peace. 5. Don't talk about your deepest dream. Imagine, for a moment, a rare and delicate seed in the palm of your hand. It represents your most intimate dreams, your most fervent aspirations. How would you protect it from harsh winds and storms that could prevent it from sprouting? The Stoics, with their profound wisdom, provide an answer. They saw our goals and dreams as these precious seeds destined to be planted in the fertile depths of our souls, far from the storms of others' opinions and criticisms. After all, who hasn't felt the flame of a dream extinguish prematurely when exposed to the cold of skepticism or the heat of ridicule? Within Stoic philosophy, self-sufficiency is celebrated as an invaluable gem. True wisdom, true accomplishment, is not a chalice to be displayed, but an internal well from which one can always draw. It makes no sense to seek fleeting external approval when we can find richness and purpose in the recesses of our own minds. Perhaps the quietest and yet most eloquent of virtues. The Stoics recognized the subtlety of the line that separates healthy ambition from arrogance. Choosing silence about our grand goals was not an act of shyness, but a deliberate choice to walk with humility, avoiding the pride that sometimes blinds. In the end, the Stoic legacy speaks to the heart. There's no need to shout our dreams from mountaintops. Instead, protect them, cultivate them, and watch them flourish in their silent and majestic glory. This safeguard is an invitation to rediscover the strength that resides within us and to recognize that, at times, the most precious treasures are those we keep just for ourselves. 6. Don't talk about your next steps. Imagine a chess master moving their pieces silently as their opponents attempt to decipher their next moves. This is the path of the Stoics. They understood that, by revealing every move in their lives, they could be subject to the whimsical winds of external judgment, often laden with criticism, envy, and even malicious intentions. The heart of Stoic philosophy lies the virtue of self-sufficiency. Why depend on the fleeting applause of an audience when true strength resides in the inner theater of the mind? By keeping their life strategies to themselves, the Stoics were not simply concealing their plans, but strengthening their inner core of confidence, independent of the tides of opinion that flow around them. This leads us to humility, a subtle yet profound quality that the Stoics fervently upheld. Revealing grandiose strategies could easily be interpreted as a cry of arrogance, a triumphant announcement of superiority. By choosing discretion, they struck a balance between ambition and humility, ensuring that their steps were steady, but not presumptuous. Thus, the Stoic tradition presents us with a rich perspective on the value of secrecy. It teaches us that protecting our goals is more than just a strategy. It is a way to fortify our being, to honor our self-sufficiency, and to walk with humility. In a world where external validation seems to be the currency, the Stoics invite us to look inward, find our internal compass, and tread our own path with confidence and wisdom. 7. Don't talk about your doubts and uncertainties. Picture yourself in a vast forest where each tree represents a doubt and each shadow an uncertainty. Instead of shouting your hesitation to the world, you choose silent introspection, seeking answers within your own soul. This is the path of the Stoics. At the core of Stoic philosophy, it's recognized that confidence isn't a flag to be waved in front of the world, but an inner beacon that guides our way. Constantly revealing our doubts to the world is like exposing a lighthouse to a torrential rain. It can silently extinguish. validity needed not to be swayed by the opinions and judgments of others. Modesty, in turn, is not just an external virtue, but a shield that protects the spirit. Thus, bearing all uncertainties can strip the soul of its dignity. Therefore, always choose when and with whom you will share your vulnerabilities. While many seek answers in the clamor of the external world, understand the importance of silence and introspection. Believe that, often, the answers to the deepest questions resonate in the quiet chambers of the heart and mind. By harboring certain uncertainties, you can cultivate deeper reflection and a more intimate connection with your essence. In summary, Stoic wisdom whispers precious advice amidst the storms of doubt. There's no need to shout your uncertainties to the world. By embracing silence, modesty, and introspection, we find a safe route through the forest of uncertainties, guided by the internal beacon of our confidence and understanding. This is the power of silent self-reflection and the internal confidence that the Stoics bequeath to us. 8. Don't talk about others. Criticizing others is like throwing stones into a calm lake, creating ripples that disturb the serenity of the water. The Stoics understood that engaging in judgments and criticisms was a diversion from their own internal mirror, wasting precious energy on matters beyond their sphere of influence. Instead of pointing fingers, the Stoics chose to extend a hand. They guided themselves with empathy and compassion, recognizing that every person is a universe filled with internal and external battles, joys and sorrows, victories and defeats. Criticizing another person would be a failure to acknowledge the richness of the complexity of the human condition. They also realized that criticism, instead of building bridges, often erected walls in its quest for tranquility and harmony. In this way, they understood that harsh words and hasty judgments did not lead to peace, but discord and separation. Stoic wisdom sends us a clear and timeless message. We must be guardians of our words and thoughts. Instead of focusing on the faults of others, let's turn our gaze to our own reflection, seeking growth and virtue. In a world where criticism is easily launched, Stoic teachings inspire us to embrace understanding, acceptance, and kindness, casting stones of empathy into the lake of humanity and appreciating the waves of positivity they generate. 9. Don't talk about your moments of solitude. While many seek to fill every second with stimuli and interactions, the Stoics found strength in quietude. They didn't view solitude as a void to be filled, but as a sanctuary where the mind could dance freely, free from the shackles of others' opinions. Contrary to what many may think, the Stoics did not shun solitude. They embraced it in their moments of retreat. They didn't feel isolated but connected to a rich inner universe filled with insights. It was in this stillness that the deepest thoughts arose, unpolluted by external noise. In the current landscape, where validation through social media has become a priority for many, Stoic philosophy invites us to reevaluate these priorities. By moving away from the constant need for exposure, we find a space where our soul can breathe, And it is in this deep silence that we discover the melody of our essence, a sound that doesn't need to be shared, but only felt in its purity and truth. 10. Don't talk about unlearned lessons. Few things are as universal as mistakes. We all fail. We all make errors. But it's in the response to these failures that a person's character is truly revealed. For the Stoics, these moments were not ones of despair, but of revelation and growth. Many of us in our contemporary society feel pressure to project an image of perfection. We showcase our triumphs and hide our defeats, but the Stoics show us a different approach. Embrace mistakes not as a sign of weakness, but as a map for self-development. By choosing to keep your unlearned lessons private, the Stoics were not trying to evade their responsibilities or hide from their failures. Instead, they sheltered themselves for a deep and intimate process of reflection. Each failure was seen not as an end, but as a beginning, a new chapter in the ongoing quest for virtue and wisdom. Just as an artist turns a mistake into a crucial part of their work, the Stoics turned their failures into foundations for growth. In a world where oversharing and overexposure are common, the Stoic stance reminds us of the value of introspection and the dignity of silence. 11. Don't talk about your deepest plans. The understanding that there's no need to shout your plans to the world is a powerful weapon. The Stoics understood something that many of us forget. That discretion is not a weakness, but a strength. For them, every plan or goal was like a delicate seed that needed to be nurtured with care and protection. By avoiding the premature exposure of these plans, they ensured that they had the ideal environment to grow and flourish, away from the storms of doubt, envy, or public scrutiny. Today, in an age of overexposure, where every move is documented and shared, Stoic philosophy invites us to rethink how we handle our ambitions. It shows us that true power often resides in what is kept secret, not because we are evasive, but because we recognize the importance of nurturing our dreams in a safe environment. Silence, for the Stoics, was not empty. It was full of potential, possibilities, and hope. It was the fertile ground where their dreams could grow undisturbed. So amidst the chaos of our modern era, perhaps we can find inspiration in these ancient sages. By protecting our deepest plans, we allow them to develop at their own pace, free from interference. And by doing so, we may discover that true magic lies not in what we declare to the world, but in what we quietly achieve in the recesses of our determination. Thank you for watching. Your support is essential for us to continue sharing knowledge and inspiration with everyone. If you have any content suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comments. We value your input, and it guides us in our mission to bring you increasingly rich and impactful content. Here's a video discussing anti-Stoic habits that should be removed from your life. Watch it and let me know what you think.